Healing really is learning the lessons of why you needed to cope in that way in the past and why you don't anymore. Just because you learned a lesson doesn't mean that now you're going to be operating out of the highest level of wisdom and embodiment of those truths that you learned. Hey loves, welcome or welcome back to my channel. It is Kedasar. Today I want to talk about how the healing journey is not linear and how we really need to have grace with ourselves as we're moving along this healing journey. So I think it's pretty common to assume that once you embark on healing, it'll be like you're going from point A to point B and it's just like a straight shot all the way up. But I'm here to tell you that's not how it is. And if you haven't already experienced the low sides of healing, there are those aspects of the healing journey that do not feel good. Matter of fact, a lot of the healing journey doesn't feel good, but once you've learned lessons and learn how to integrate them and then embody those lessons, embody new levels of healing, that's what feels good. So there's a lot that goes into healing. A lot of it deals with unlocking lessons, unlocking levels, unlocking wisdom, and regarding how to live and operate out of our truest selves rather than the survival side of our beings, rather than the ego, rather than all these protective things that protect us from the trauma and abrasiveness that we've experienced in the world. Healing really is learning the lessons of why you needed to cope in that way in the past and why you don't anymore. Learning how those actions that were done to you weren't actually a reflection of you. It was a reflection of them. And how can you now live in a way where you're defining your own value rather than absorbing other people's stories of you and narratives of you? Healing is learning how to operate out of the highest place of peace and ease and love, essentially, and discarding all of those lower paradigms of thought patterns, emotions, and behavior that come from us trying to protect ourselves. So about the healing journey and the non-linearity about it is we don't always utilize the lessons that we've learned throughout the journey, and we don't always operate out of a healed place. Just because you learned a lesson doesn't mean that now you're going to be operating out of the highest level of wisdom and embodiment of those truths that you learned. You may learn the lesson and then have something else trigger you in a unique way where you haven't yet learned how to embody that lesson or how to live that lesson in that situation. Something new may come up for you that triggers that thing from the past. Or it may be the same exact situations that you've dealt with in the past, but you're just not at your center, you're not grounded, and it throws you off. So in my eyes, the healing journey isn't about being perfect, but the one thing that you can do in all of these situations is have awareness. I think this is the best thing we can do for ourselves, and step into that observation. Observe your thoughts, observe your feelings, observe your behaviors, observe all of these patterns that go on within your being and outside of your being that triggers you to arrive to that place in the first place. Observe all of these things, the cause and the effects. And even if you're not operating out of your highest version in that situation, through having that level of awareness, you now understand yourself deeper. You now understand what brings you to that level. And now that you understand it, you can implement new ways to embody your highest truth. You can have a deeper level of understanding that allows you to live from that healed place, that allows you to implement strategies and mechanisms to assist you in those moments of challenge. So for example, if you've struggled with overeating when you feel stressed out, and let's say you just don't feel like you have that strength to fight that unhealthy habit in a particular moment when you may have in the past. In this moment, what you can do is observe, okay, what has triggered me to overeat? What about this situation brings me stress? And what type of foods am I choosing? How do these foods make me feel? So now that you know these things, now when you're triggered, okay, maybe since I'm trying to feel some sort of peace in this moment of stress, I can go do some breath work. I can go meditate. I can go dance. I can go shake it out instead of overeating. So you've identified the cause of the unhealthy habit or behavior or feeling or thought, and then your reaction. So even if you were reactive in that situation, now you can go forward knowing how to respond to the trigger rather than react, so you can begin to build healthier habits. So also when it comes to the non-linearity of the healing journey, we have to understand that there's literally levels to healing, and each level in and of it themselves aren't even linear. Like, I feel like this could be level 1, this is 2, this is 3, like it goes all over the place. This level right here could be the level of forgiveness, then this level over here can be the level of releasing anger. So you go from forgiveness to anger. It's like sometimes it doesn't make sense. So I can use myself as an example. Earlier in 2022, I thought that I healed a certain pain, a certain hurt from my past, because I experienced a very deep level of forgiveness, like profound level of forgiveness from doing the shadow work, from diving deep. This came about within me, and I was like, wow, like I really felt like I healed. Then later, a few months later, I started feeling other emotions surface as I was doing more work, and realizing that no, there's still anger regarding the situation. This situation, I was never apologized to. I was never, my inner child is still upset. You know what I mean? So it's like, on one hand, I have unlocked that level of forgiveness, but on the other, I'm still experiencing these other emotions that I have to feel through, because when I was a child, I couldn't process them. When you're a child, oftentimes you have a lot of unprocessed emotions because you don't have the time or the safe space or the mental capacity or understanding to process it at that time. So you compartmentalize it, stuff it down. Then as an adult, it shows up in a lot of unhealthy behaviors, thoughts, feelings, etc. So what we do now that we're older is we have to feel through them. We have to. Otherwise, we don't have a chance to let them move through our bodies and our beings. So I had to realize that, okay, just because I felt this forgiveness doesn't mean that these parts of my being haven't been healed or have been healed and have been answered for. So just because we've experienced a certain level of healing, it doesn't mean our consciousness will always dwell there. My consciousness won't always dwell in that level of forgiveness. It may move to sadness, to grief, to anger regarding the exact same situation. But the cool thing is we do have power to decide where our consciousness dwells. We can decide to have our consciousness dwell in the peace, but you just don't want to suppress these things when they come up, or else they will still be there and start to cause other issues for you. So for me, when something comes up, I let it go through my body. I feel it out. I try to understand, but not over understand it. And then I have to actively do things to release it. I can't let it stay forever, and I can't let myself stay in that place forever. It's only for a certain time. I let it do its thing, then I have to move on, so I'm not just dwelling at a low place. And that's healing for me. It's very healing. So how do we have grace with ourselves? The key to grace is practicing non-judgment. Like I said before, observe yourself, but don't judge. Study yourself to learn what helps you versus keeps you from fully embodying your lessons and truths that you've unlocked on this journey. Also, study yourself to study those triggers, study how you react in certain situations, study those coping mechanisms, study the feelings that you try to artificially seek in external things, so you can then learn how to provide that to yourself from within. But as you study these things, don't judge. Practice equanimity, where you're just still and at peace in your mind while you're observing. And then you can begin to integrate the lessons you're learning about yourself on deeper and deeper levels as you move forward. Having a yoga or meditation or just spiritual practice in general can really help you to find your core and return to your core and place of peace within. So even when you stray away from that path and you notice yourself going into old habits and like, dang, I just learned this thing, but I'm feeling triggered again. Listen, having that spiritual practice can bring you back to your center and give you that sense of foundation and groundedness and peace that allows you to continue moving forward rather than being brought down by all these things and burdens and challenges. And lastly, do what brings you joy. On the healing journey, it could be like go up, oh yay, then go down, then in the middle, then really high, then low, and you know what I mean? It goes all over, but the goal is for it to go up. But what I say is, if you find yourself feeling the low emotions and feeling frustrated at where you're at, don't forget to do what brings you joy. Don't forget to continue to put fuel to that fire of your passion for life, of what makes you smile, what makes you feel full and nourished and fed. You can be actively going through intense trauma and intense hurt and pain, or processing that trauma while still doing things that bring you joy. I'm a firm believer that you can experience joy even while you're experiencing sadness. Even when you're going through a hard time, you still can do things that lift your spirits, lift your mood, and that'll help you heal as well, because you're reminding your spirit and your mind that there's more than that pain that you've may experienced. So that is all for this video on how the healing journey is not linear and how to have grace with yourself. Please let me know if any of these tips and explanations helped. What has been your experience on this healing journey? How have you come to understand the non-linearity of this journey? Comment down below, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, join the family. And until next time, peace and love.